Well, hello, Gogopreneur listeners. Today's guest is Anthony Trucks, and I'm super excited. I got introduced to him through a good friend of mine, the real Jason Duncan. We actually got interviewed on I think it was his 200 episode on the Root of All Success podcast. And this picture sits on my shelf. And that's where I met Anthony. And so as we were creating this Gogopreneur podcast, I was like, who are the people that I want to interview? Who have those stories, those things that they really overcome life? Right. And Anthony popped up in my head, and I'm super excited and I get to interview him today. So Anthony became a NFL pro, but he didn't have necessarily the silver spoon, that easy life upbringing. He actually got put into foster care at the age of 3 and got adopted into a white family, and Anthony is Black. So he stuck out. I think he said he was the only Black kid at his school as well. So he had a lot of hardships and then went through life, got into the NFL and lost his career over a broken shoulder in, I think, 3rd year, and life changed. He almost lost his wife. He did. They ended up getting divorced with having 3 children. And then he turned his life around, right? He turned it around, got remarried to the same woman. He's the father to the 3 children. And today he's super duper successful. He's a transformational coach. He has a website called darkwork.com where he walks people through their own transformation in, I think it's a 16-day period. And he's also a best-selling author. And I'm super excited to have him here with us today to talk about anything life transformation and how to get yourself out of that, oh shit, that lows of the low. What do they call it? Your rock bottom. Let's interview Anthony.
Welcome to Gogopreneur, where Gogo Bethke, your host, interviews badass rock star entrepreneurs of the world, figuring out who they are, how they got to where they're at, and the lessons they learned along the way, so you can learn those lessons and turn it into money. Let's go get 'em.
Well, thank you so much for being here for the Gogopreneur Show. You are one of my very first guests, not the very first, but first 5.
Nice.
So thank you so much for being here. I really just wanted to get to know you. I heard of you through, actually lifted up the picture and I put it on my desk, the real Jason Duncan. You remember we did that 200th episode together. And I met you on that podcast, and I had no intentions at the time having my own podcast. I attend a lot of other people's podcasts, right? But I had no intention of having my own. And then when I decided to have my own, I was like, who do I want to interview, right? Who is that top 20? I'm only doing 24 episodes a year. And who is that top 20, 24 people that I want to interview? I think you have an amazing story, going from being a foster child all the way to becoming an NFL pro and then losing your career in a split second, right? In a split second to then figure out what do you want to be when you grow up, right? So I would really like to just take the conversation wherever the conversation takes us. So the idea with the Gogopreneur Show is I started out as a realtor, but today I own 9 companies. So today I consider myself an entrepreneur. And I feel like so many lessons I learned along the way to be who I am today. And really, that's what I would like to get to with you today of who is Anthony? What are your biggest achievements? What are the lessons that you learned along the way? And maybe by sharing those lessons, then we can help someone not have to go through those lessons.
Yeah, I get it. That's the idea. Yeah. I mean, if you can help people eliminate the path, it's almost like parenting. Like I have kids, I'm like, you just listen to me. I can help you avoid some of these crazy headaches, but no.
They still won't though. They still won't. We still want to create our own path and go through the pain because those are the lessons, right? But I feel like I got smarter over time, and I read a lot of books, a lot of biographies, and I watch a lot of documentaries to learn through others. So not have to take the path of pain.
It's wise.
So let's start at the beginning. So you were put into foster care, if I remember correctly from your bio, at age of 3. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So then what happened up to age of 3? How did you end up in foster care?
Well, I don't know. I think I was too young to remember all those things. What I do know is my mom, she met my dad. I don't know when she met him, at some point in time, probably around obviously I was, before I was born, and then he disappeared right when I was born, at the beginning of the year of 83, when I was actually born. And so as far as I know, she was wandering around just kind of doing her thing. But I do know this. I have siblings. I was 3 years old, and I have 3 siblings. So it was me at 3, my sister the next year, my brother the next year, another sister that next year. So when we all got put into foster care, like she had a kid every year for 4 years straight. And I can grasp that she probably wasn't prepared for all that. Not alone the fact that like my dad disappeared and left her, and it was out of the picture. So she had met another guy. My siblings all the same dad. So it's just a weird dynamic. And I don't fully know what took place. I do know that it led up to a point of her just calling social services and saying, "Hey, I can't take my kids anymore. Can you please get them out pretty much out of my house?" And I was thrust into the foster care system at 3 years old.
Oh my gosh. From one mom to another, I can only imagine the pain.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was fun, which it was interestingly weird because then over the years she wasn't the best at just being even there to show up to like visitations because you actually are
Right.
allowed to have visitations at certain points in time. So like for us as kids, like every other week, and then if they don't show up, they extend them out. So it's every other week till it goes to every month, and then every other month, and every 2 months, and every 4 months. It got to the point where I wouldn't see her for like every 6 months because she just wouldn't show up. So it's interesting because me being a father now, I'm like I could never imagine doing that to my kids. So
She
I
probably didn't want to face reality that she still can't have you back for
very possible.
who knows what her truth is. Have you ever heard of the show Long Lost Family?
No, I've not heard of Long Lost Family. No.
So do you have a relationship with your mom, maybe dad or stepdad or any of your
Yeah.
siblings?
Yeah, I have a relationship with my well, I have siblings, so I have a relationship with, yes. They're not the closest because we didn't grow up together, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a interestingly kind of weird dynamic. But my biological father passed away a few years back, and
I'm
my
sorry.
mom, no one can find her. There was a TV show that I was cast on with my wife called Relative Race. You travel the country and you meet long lost relatives. They could not find my mom. They go, "She's not dead because there's no, death certificates, but we can't find her." They say, "This is not normal." So she's just out there being a
Oh,
nomad, doing whatever she's doing.
oh, that's why I'm asking you about the Long Lost Family because I think I'm watching it on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. Roku.
Mhm.
It's in Roku. And it's about this. It's about people who were adopted, trying to figure out who they are, who they were before they got adopted, and
Yeah,
who are their family, where are they today? What was the real story,
yeah.
right? So maybe you want to try that
Yeah,
TV show.
it's possible.
I don't know
Oh,
if they are still an active TV show because I'm pretty sure these episodes I'm watching are like from the 2010ish or 14ish or something like that. But who
uh-huh.
knows if it's an active show? Maybe.
I'll take a look. Those kind of things, I'm curious about them. You never know. But I also don't have this aching hole, like feeling of like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
I realized years ago that what she did wasn't to maliciously hurt me. She did it to serve herself. I can grasp that. So there's forgiveness there. But the reality is like I have an amazing life. I've done some great things. And while I don't like what was done, I appreciate it to a depth of understanding. Like those things gave me some amazing strengths that I was smart enough to reapply in other places that have given me great success. So now the longing for family I've created at home.
So would you be who you are today if you were not a foster kid?
Oh, absolutely not. No, there's no way. No, I mean, not even remotely close to it. The reason I
Yeah.
can know is because I have 3 kids, and these kids are not me. They don't got that thick skin, the grit, it's not there. The problem is a lot of folks, they let those situations be the reason they do poorly. So if you look at any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids like me. And so, like, there's this kind of, I believe, a retribution that we want to get back to the world for what the world did to us. Because in the foster homes, I was beaten and starved and tortured, like some heinous things. And I can understand how you just want to give it back to the world. But as opposed to making it a reason to do really, really bad, I made it a reason to do really, really good. And so I looked at it as these things as a painting I have on my wall over here and a tattoo. And it's a sailing, like like a sailing ship. And it says, "Smooth seas never made skilled sailors." And so I love the thought of the fact that these things created the hardships for me to get the skill sets to navigate a rough seas of life.
I remember going to a Tony Robbins event. So I have, childhood trauma like we all do.
Mm,
Right. And I went to a Tony Robbins event and he said in that event that if you're holding something against someone that they did to you, you always have to give him credit. You also has to give him credit for what you became of it.
mhm. Yeah, true. For me, I'm good. Like I don't have any ill will. Like if I saw my mom, I wouldn't be mad at her. I would be
Yeah.
kind of like, here's the thing. At this point in my life, I grasp that certain people, when you've done well and they did negatively, they sit with that and they know that. And so if you were to step back, like there's got to be a really big gaping hole of shame, the fact that she's not within my life. And so I go,
Yeah.
that's punishment enough. I'm not worried about it. I wouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't have like this. I want to be, your son again. Like it just would be kind of like you're a person that exists, and it sucks that you created this pathway for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's step through. So age of 3, foster care. How long were you in foster care before you got adopted?
11 years, long
Oh, so
time.
you were 14 when you got adopted? Or you got
14,
14. Okay.
which
And
is a
then
long.
how did that come about? So I saw a family photo.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the only black person in a really poor all white family. I make this really bad joke that I grew up poor white trash. It's dumb, but bear with me though. But we didn't have much, man. I was the only black kid. I was the only black kid in my elementary school. Like it was weird growing up in
So
this country.
where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Martinez, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up in Antioch, California.
Okay, so still on the West Coast. Okay.
Yeah,
So
on the
let's
West
fast
Coast.
forward a little bit. How was life after getting adopted? So I'm
Ah,
assuming you said, foster care was home. You starved, you got
yeah,
beaten, all of those things.
yeah.
I'm hoping that it got better after you got adopted.
It did. It had its ups and downs. So almost right after I got adopted, my adoptive mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So the family was
Oh,
focused on mom being, sick, which sucked because she had just like got out of like my mom wasn't the most successful human. She finally went back, got her GED. She had my brother when she was 14, for example. Like my mom just she was, climbing and finally got to this point of being a nurse. And then she got MS and she couldn't do her career anymore. So it sucked to watch that. Then on the flip side, I'm trying to become this new guy. For the first time in my life, I could go play sports. So I go try my hand at football, and I'm horrible at it. So you
so
try
why did you pick football?
well, because I like to hit people and not get in trouble. If I'm being honest, there's a part of it that I want to do it now, and I
Oh,
can't.
maybe I should have picked football and not real estate.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be
five
crazy.
five foot two. 5'2"
Yeah.
doesn't work, right?
You could have done it. You could have went out there. But no, I went out and I tried my hand at something because we all try something new. All of us have
Yeah.
tried something new and realized in the journey of it, I suck at this. Then you have a choice. Choice A is you lean back in, you do the hard work, you figure it out. Option 2 is make a really good excuse to not do that thing anymore that's really convincing so you can sleep well at night. And I chose option 2, unfortunately. For a couple years, I tried football one more time, but I was like, I suck at this. And eventually, I had a moment wake me up, and I leaned back in, and I got really good at the game. And the rest is history to an extent.
So what changed though? What changed from like to yeah, I got this. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm going to the NFL.
The reality that I had a heavy belief in myself, but it wasn't the belief you think. The belief was I realized that if I do nothing different, I'm going to have worse off in the future. There's sometimes a belief that if I do this, I'm going to be successful. I didn't have that. I did believe that if I did nothing, nothing changed. And where I was headed in
Mhm.
life, I didn't want to go. And then I had this moment of realization of like I hated being the victim of a life that I had no control over. I was in foster care, had no control of that. I couldn't, play sports, no control. My mom being sick, no control. But I was like, what can I control? And I realized I could control my own efforts towards something, which I turned back to football. So I go, I'm going to try to find out what football players who are amazing do and do those things. Now it is interesting because for all of us, this is a journey we eventually take. And we're met with this very immediate feeling of, I am not the kind of person who does this thing. I don't write this. I don't read this. I don't create a podcast, right? I don't play football. I don't catch footballs, lift weights. It's not who I am. It's not my family's, like habits. So I'm trying this new thing. And there's two really negative voices we usually have. The first one is yours going, you can't do this. You suck. What are you doing? Why are you looking stupid every day, right? The other one is oftentimes people around you that go, that's not for you. Ah, you shouldn't do that. Ah, don't waste your time, right? I had teammates make fun of me. Hey, skinny boy, why you out there lifting weights? You can't catch a football. Why you can't, So you have these two voices that are just beating you up. And then you just have to keep leaning into it. And so I did this. And the first month's hard, second month's hard, third month's a little easier. By the seventh month, though, of off season for my freshman to sophomore year, like something clicked. And there's this work I do called dark work. It's the work you do in the dark to win in the light. And what happened is I emerged from that window of time, went into my third year of football, my sophomore year in high school, with this mentality of I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. It was my touchdown, my tackle, it was mine. And because I earned it. And that was the thing that built me into somebody new.
So you said earlier that you researched the ones. What do the pros do, right? So I'm
Yeah.
assuming this is like 1999, 2000-ish.
Yeah. This is high school. This is actually 99, exactly 99.
Doing the math in the background while you're talking. So was there Google back then?
Oh no, just the TV. I was watching. So you got to realize I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. You got Jerry Rice as a wide receiver. I'm watching Jerry Rice run up hills in his little baby girl shorts, because that's what they used to do back in the '80s. He's running up these hills, he's catching routes, and I'm like, I got to do that. And all of us have to do this, by the way. There's this thought that if we just, what would my future self do, and ask that question, we'll get an answer. And the truth is, we won't. It sounds odd to say it that way, but there's a study done by UCLA called The Stranger Inside. They hook people's brains up to diodes, and they would show them pictures of people that they know and loved, and love would light up in the brain. So it'd be a picture of the mom and the spouse and the kids, and love would light up. They then show them pictures of someone they didn't know, and stranger would light up. And then they would ask him, hey, tell us about your future self. And stranger would light up because we don't have his connection. The problem here is if I don't have a connection and love, I don't sacrifice for that person. So the ideas of what you might do, you don't fully know. But here's what you do know. If me and you go, you know what, we want to get in shape. And we ask ourselves, hey, it's Tuesday morning. I don't feel like getting up. What would The Rock do? Oh, we both know what The Rock would do, right? He's gonna get up and get after it in the iron paradise. So the thing is,
Doesn't he carry or takes his own, like, I think he has a gym in a semi truck or something like that.
he does. When he
I
goes
was
on
told,
set, the gym
yeah,
has
and
to
then he
close.
just takes the whole semi truck with him. So
That's
that's
what he
what the
does.
Rock do. He doesn't skip a
Exactly.
day. He makes it
You know,
work.
It's how it works. And so the thing is if we ask ourselves someone who's doing the thing we want to do in that area, what would they do? It'll give us an answer. We got to do that. But we're going to be met with but I don't do that. I don't care if you do it. The more you do it, the more you become the kind of person that does it.
I have one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to have what the top 1% have, you have to do what 99% is not willing.
Truth. It's all the same stuff. I just call it dark work. It's really what it is. The unsexy, unseen. It's the ridiculed, misunderstood work that allows you to not just develop a skill set, but like this sense of pride that you will protect that with your actions later on.
And then do it over and over again, even when you don't freaking feel like it, when you long lost the excitement, but you're
Yes.
still doing it.
In fact, it's better when you don't want to do it. It sounds weird, but there's actually neurological studies done that when you do the thing that you don't want to do, you build a certain part of your brain. It's like the mid-cingulate cortex or something. So this muscle's big within people who are like athletes or just entrepreneurs and highly successful people, because we're able to do a thing we don't want to do, and it builds a part of our brain that goes, I can do this. And we don't even question. After a while, there's things that come into my process and I go, I'm not having a discussion with myself to do it. It's going to get done. I've decided, we're off. Where
Yeah.
somebody else will sit and stew for a week. I don't got a week. I got 5 minutes tops. Let's go to work. And that muscle, when you build it, it becomes something you can use anywhere you want. And that's how you become the person who does what 99% of people won't.
Yeah. Tony Robbins, you're going to hear me quote him all the time because he's the one who started the soul searching in my life, right?
Right.
But he said at one of his events that my brain doesn't tell me what we're going to do today. I tell my brain what we're going to do today.
Yeah, you have to. That's the way to do it. And even
So,
another year later, that's the body too. We're not going to go there, but there's different tiers. So, but yes, 100%, I agree.
so you make it to the NFL. How you get selected in high school last year?
Yeah, so I got a college scholarship to go play football. I chose to go to the University of Oregon. I got a helmet here behind me.
Yeah.
My sophomore year, I met my dad, had my first son with my high school sweetheart, who were in the cutest couple in the yearbook, and that was
Aw.
hard because then all through college, I'm a full time student. She's a full time student. I'm a full time athlete, and I'm a dad. So it's just all these weird things happen in college in a good way, but I was also around an environment that hardened me in a good way, like uh, habits, discipline, like skill, integrity, like certain things were ingrained in me that I didn't know at the time, but were paramount to my success later in life. And eventually did get a chance to play in the NFL. Got hurt in my third year because NFL stands for not for long. So I got in,
Aw.
I got hurt,
I
I
never
got
heard that before.
yeah, it's the average stint of anybody playing in the NFL. If you take into account every person coming in, is 6 months. 6 months. It's not 3 years. People think it's like 3 years. That's for people who make teams. But if you're in the beginning of a season, there's 90 something guys. They cut to 53. So you got 6 months in. So I got to my third year, tore my shoulder, came home, and all hell broke loose. Because for all of us, there's a moment in time where we have been doing something, pouring into something, and we can no longer do that thing. Maybe you've left a job, started a business, left a marriage, sent a kid off to college, left the military, left sports. And what happens is you start questioning your actual value to the world because you can't do that thing anymore. And I did that. Blew my life up. My wife and I had 2 more kids. We had twins. So now I have a 4-year-old, newborn twins. I'm newly married, trying to build this gym business because, I'm an athlete. So like novel idea, let me do fitness. No one does that.
Yeah.
So I
I
jump
mean,
in
that
the
was the thing that you knew, right? Like you can't,
I
like,
knew.
what are you going to go into? That was the thing that you know. You
Yeah.
have, 2 cents about it, and
Yeah.
let's figure it out.
And my degree is actually in kinesiology. So I understand like biology, anatomy, human physiology. That's what I do. So at the time, I wasn't a dumb jock. I'd been planning to do that properly. But even then, it was just this, I didn't know what I was doing. I was spinning through life. I was out of shape. I wasn't a good dad or husband. I ended up getting divorced, really bad, divorce, and everything fell apart. And I found myself at one point, literally, I had front desk staff. I had got a 500 square foot studio apartment behind one of my front desks, like the person there, their parents' house. And I would have my kids sleeping on an air mattress, a twin size air mattress next to my twin mattress. Like this is after the NFL. So I'm living like this, I got a gym and your kid works for me. I'm living behind your house. Like it's just weird dynamics. Life was not good. I wasn't making money. I didn't like myself. And here's the thing was crazy. Gogo, I blamed everybody else. It wasn't my fault. The market was bad. It wasn't my fault. My ex-wife was a horrible human. It wasn't my fault. I had to work, so I couldn't make my kids' practices. Like it was this constant, because the ownership part's heavy for a lot of us.
Hmm.
It's the weird thing. And then at one moment, I just had this realization of like, no, I'm the common denominator in all of my problems. Like either I created this thing or I'm allowing this thing, but I'm there. And really what genuinely woke me up was my adoptive mom passed away after 17 years with MS.
I'm
And I
sorry.
was literally in the room. And it was one of those things where like it was really heavier on me because she's the reason I'm not a statistic. Her body wouldn't let her move and live a life, but mine still could. And I'm sitting here living well below the capabilities of what this woman allowed me to do. And so like that moment in time paired with like a full realization, like finally opened me up to what it took to get better.
And what happened?
And I started doing a whole lot of crazy dark work again. That's what it is. It's that unseen, unsexy stuff, right? You know what I did? So I didn't say this part, but my ex-wife, she had an affair. And while I understand the choice, it took me a lot of years to understand my role in it, meaning she made a horrible choice. She owns it now. She understands crappy choice, but it took 2 people, me included, to get our marriage to a point where we felt like this was what it was, or she felt like she had to make a choice in the first place. So I take that because what happened was I was at the gym every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and she's at home without a husband with a 4-year-old and newborn twins. So that life for her wasn't smooth and I'm gone all day and I'm trying to make money. I'm not making money. It was a headache. And so I blamed her for a lot of years. And at some point I go, you know what? I'm going to apologize for my part in this. At one point, I even tracked the guy down and had a heart to heart with the guy, squared that up. Because I didn't like the idea of walking around my own town and having the ability to run into somebody who would make me like lose my control emotionally. So
Yeah.
I needed to figure that out. And I did. And to this day, like we've had some good conversations, years past. I had to go and own my part of why the business wasn't doing well. I didn't actually have good insights in coaching. I was guiding this thing ridiculously poorly. I needed someone who knew what they were doing to actually pour into me. I need to take care of my health better. I need to be a better dad. And so I started doing these things that were at the time not who I was to do. Same as I did when I was looking at football so many years prior. And the more I did it, the better I got. But here's the thing. I became the kind of person inside who felt like I deserved something great again. And I built back and I became this guy. And then at a certain point in time, through a lot of different crazy conversations, after 3 years divorced, I remarried my ex-wife. And now we're about 8 years deep in a remarriage. Love her to death. Our marriage is ridiculously strong.
That's
Our kids are
awesome.
happy and healthy. My oldest is going to college in Oregon, where he was born. He's running track at Oregon. We just watched him this last weekend at Cal. He ran against Cal Berkeley. My twins are going to high school next year. I got an amazing business. Like I'm literally in the middle of building this $150,000 gym in the backyard of our house because I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay in my own compound of my home. So like I've got a beautiful life and I get to work with companies like Amazon, PayPal, Chick-fil-A, T-Mobile, you name it. And it's an awesome thing to look back and go, the only reason I'm doing this is because I chose to do dark work and build out of it. And everybody genuinely can do the exact same thing.
So let's talk about how do you make money today? What excites you today? What are you looking forward to? Like, so we went from leaving I'm assuming a career that you thought you would have much
Yeah.
longer than 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully making millions of dollars. I would assume that was your
That was
idea.
the
That would have
dream.
been
Yeah.
mine,
Right.
right? And then
Yeah.
so that gets taken away from you. You pretty much lose everything. Would you say it was pretty much rock bottom?
Hell yeah. Oh, for sure. At one point, I didn't want to kill. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to live here. I was like, I want to kill myself. Like, I'm out of here. Like, it was genuinely a moment in time where I'm like, this is life after football. I'm good. Like, I can't. I've already hit the top. It's just all downhill from now. And
Yeah.
it was interesting realization for sure.
And then you do all of that soul searching. You figure out, I'm assuming, things that you are good at
Yeah.
besides football, right?
Besides football.
Besides football, right? And then, so what does that look like today?
So today it's a couple things. One is I actually go into the world and I teach people how to go through proactively a dark work experience. I did it in high school. I did it in college. I did it in the NFL. It's what saved me when I was a grown man. And the reason I call it an experience is this. I believe that we all have this identity, meaning it's who we are when we're not thinking about who we are, but it's wired. Like it's wired neurologically and psychologically into us, not through how we feel, but through experiences. Something happened, whether we chose to do it on demand or when crap hit the fan, but something happened and it made us somebody different. For a lot of us, we don't do it intentionally. We do it when our back's against the wall. But I go, no, we need to do this intentionally. You can subject yourself to difficulty with the intention of being better. And so what I did is I went through it in my own life, and now I guide people through the same kind of process and experience to help them rewire and develop what I call a dominator's identity with a mentality of I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. So that's what I do. I speak on stages. I go and hop on and do keynotes. I'm paid really well to do that, which I'm happy about. It's pretty awesome. And so I speak, but also consult and coach. In fact, next month I'll be at Chick-fil-A and Amazon doing consulting on their offsites, their retreats they do. But I go in and I guide their people through single day dark work experiences. Then for individuals, I do a whole 16-week process with them. So it's like that's one part of the business. I love doing it. The other side is I realized when I was trying to build this business that there was such a gap in clear information of how to become a great speaker from the business standpoint. A lot of people will teach you, hey, here's how you hold your hand and talk with your voice and inflect. But I was like, but how do I get on stage, folks? And so I had to do it trial and error. And so I've since built a company called Speak to Freedom that teaches people the business side. So it's less about getting great on stage and more about getting great at getting onto stage. And those are the two things I do. I love it because I get to impact people's lives, whether it's directly or giving them tools to build their own business that they can have a gig impact on their life as well.
So let's put those on the screen super quick. So darkwork.com is one of your websites, but I see that it's currently under construction.
It's almost so it's done, but we ain't ready to launch it yet. It's been a literally an 8-month process. I'm excited about it. The site looks beautiful. We're just having a couple little things we like tweak. We had a whole assessment done by a PhD that took 10 months. So a doctor created this entire assessment with us, and so that's the last piece. When the button's live, the whole site goes live.
Oh, I love it. So when do you anticipate that darkwork.com is going to be live?
It should
This
be done
month?
this month.
So
Yeah,
we
I'm
are
really excited.
shooting this on April 9th, guys. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure when this is going to go live, this episode, but hopefully by the time we are live with this one, you can just go to www.darkwork.com to see
Yep,
Anthony's work
correct.
and partake.
Yeah.
And then the other one regarding the speaking engagements and how to monetize, where can people find that?
You go to speaktofreedom.com. Because the idea is I want people to speak to a life of freedom like me and you have. Like at the end of the day, I can kind of get up and choose what I want to do today. And I don't think that is everybody's goal, but like people ask, hey, Anthony, what's success? I go control for me. I think we have freedom, and freedom you can choose to be in a job you hate, a relationship you hate, right? But I have the control of my life, which really is the freedom. So I teach people to speak to that as a lifestyle. Hence,
Awesome.
speaktofreedom.com.
Can you put that on the screen, please? There we go. Speaktofreedom.com. So let me just ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
What was the lesson that it took you the longest to learn?
One more time. Ask it one more time.
What was the lesson that
Yes.
took you the longest to learn? So I like to say it this way: God sometimes throws you pebbles, and if you don't listen to the pebbles, He's gonna throw a brick. Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah.
Is there a lesson that you kind of had to learn a couple of times before it was like, oh yeah, okay, I got it. Never going to do that again?
You know what's funny is I and it's not a lesson that I knew I was learning until I looked back later on and got that it was a lesson. But the lesson was you cannot want more for someone than they want for themselves.
Oh,
And it's been good for my
that
marriage.
is so hard.
Yeah, it is. It's been good for my marriage, my parenting. It's been good for friendships. Because what happens is when you don't want it and I want it for you, you feel like I am judging you negatively because you don't have it or want it. And it causes us like a separation, a lack of love, a wall goes up. And so, like my wife, for example, we have an amazing story. And we've been asked to go on national television many times, but she doesn't want to do it. She's like, I'm fine telling my story. She's like, but I don't, it's like, I'm not the TV person. She's like, I'm not doing podcasts. It's not my thing. I would love her to do it. And I would have a little bit of resentment at certain points early on, but I go, that's me wanting something more than she wants. And
Yeah,
if I hold that, then I'm going to have resentment for her and say, she's not helping me grow. But that's not the goal. The goal is a great marriage. And so I go,
yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna let that go. So those little parts, like it took years to get that. Or my kids, like, why don't you do this thing? It's not what they need to do, or they don't want that for themselves. Okay, cool. What do you want? And then I'll help you get what you want, but I'm not going to set the anchor for you.
Love it. Do you like to read books?
Yeah, I got a bunch of books, all these over here.
Looks like it. I wasn't sure it was just, place saver
Yeah.
back there.
No, this is actually a full studio. I got a whole bunch of stuff over here. It's a whole, I got like TVs on the ceiling and everything. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
One is one of your favorite books.
You know, one of my favorite books is The Untethered Soul. The cool thing about the book is it has this conversation about the you inside. Michael Singer is the author. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's the idea of the author of the book. But the idea of the concept is we always have this sense of who we are inside and then who is shown to the world. And we think that it's the same person. It's usually not. And you can always test it by going, have you ever had a conversation with yourself? And I go, yeah, I've had a conversation with myself. It happens all the time. So the idea is like you can be back within you, having discussions and understanding stuff, and then present to the world who you want, which means I am not what the world sees or what I've done or the outcomes of the actions I've taken. I'm still me. And if I'm centered on me and I'm only worried about making sure I'm great here, whatever happens out here is irrelevant, which allows me to pursue the world in a different way than many. I'm not pursuing it based on how I feel about your judgment of what I'm showing you. If I mess up, I don't care. I messed up. All right, I'm good. Like it's not me. Like the failed business wasn't me, or and that looked stupid. That wasn't me, or the bomb speech wasn't me. Like it was just a situation I created. But if I go back to me, I can create something different, and it gives me a ton of hope and opportunity.
So have you ever thought about if you are talking to yourself, right? Who are you talking to?
You're talking to your identity.
So how
That's a
many Antonies are there, right? So we say me, myself, and I.
Yeah, well, there's one, but think about it this way. We all are certain individuals, and this is why I say
I
you
know, but
look
in
at
a conversation, there's always, at least at a very minimum, in a
yeah,
conversation, there's two subjects. So
yeah, oh
there's
yeah,
me talking to myself.
possibly, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It depends on what the conversation is topic, but also the setting. And here's the weird part about it. There's this place in our brain called the default mode network. In fact, it's the place that when you start daydreaming or like things fly out of your brain, like that's you being you. And it's not until you grab hold and go, oh wait, like, sorry about that, right? That you realize like you were just flowing through. That place is you genuinely. So judgments, snap decisions, like fight or flight. That's all. That's your identity, but it's expressed in different ways in different settings also. So the way I'm expressing my identity with you right now, I'm not the same on an airplane. I'm just quiet. That's my guy. If I'm on a stage, it's a different expression of Anthony on stage. With my wife, at night, there's a different expression of Anthony. So
Yeah.
it's the same person, but I'm realizing the expression of what needs to take place in this social setting.
Have you ever taken a disc assessment?
I have not. I've been told I should, but I have not taken them. I'm not
Yeah.
against them. I haven't had a
Yeah.
reason to
So
take them.
DISC will pretty much show you exactly that. There is a neat natural style and there is an adaptive style that they call, right? So if you look at my DISC assessment, I'm a totally different human at work who I am at home,
There you
right?
go.
So
Makes
my
sense.
husband is a very dominant personality, so am I. So in
Yeah.
order for us to continue staying married in 21 plus years now, right?
Yeah.
Something has to give. So we
They
each
do.
have, so at home, I reduce my dominant personality just so we don't butt heads all the time. Nor do I want to be the boss at home. I've been bossing all day. I'm done bossing at 4 o'clock. I'm done. Right.
Yeah.
So if you do a
Tell my
disc
wife
assessment,
this. I'm gonna get my wife. So you gotta tell her we butt heads. We don't have. We understand. I think we found the dance of like when and where to choose
Yeah.
battles. I select my battles like wisely, but we do this too. She runs a multi-million-dollar business and does her thing, so she can
Yeah.
be very
So
controlling as well.
if you take a test, it's super fun. I took it with my husband too. If both of you take a test, you can kind of see of like who you're at work, who you're at home, and when that crosses over, and when that bossy high D personality comes in, right? I also couldn't have a pushover husband. Like if I had a husband that was like, "Sure, honey, whatever
Yeah,
you want to do, honey," like, oh my gosh, I would be
that
bored
wouldn't
out of
work.
mind by noon,
I agree.
right? So
Yeah.
that's also not an option. But to have a successful marriage, which I also think is super important, is to have not only a successful business life, but have a good mental health, have good
Yeah,
physical health, and have good relationships, like your marriage,
I
your
agree.
relationship with your children, with your friends. Like, I
All
believe
of it.
you can have it all, and we should have it all. And if you don't, I believe that you need to work on whatever's lacking.
I agree. We would be very kindred in our functionality. My wife just set 2 world records a couple weeks ago in Chicago. She does masters track. I do my thing. My son runs track at Oregon. My twins are going to these cool high schools and wins an All American. Like we function like this. So
So
what
tell
you're
me, what is a master's track?
so once you turn 35 years old, you can compete internationally in what's called masters track, and it's separated by age groups. So you can go from 35 to 40, or 35 to 39, 40 to 44, and every 5 years up. So
So
she
this
just turned
is
30.
running track.
Yeah, so we were in
Okay.
Chicago. It was indoors. There's outdoors takes place this year in Florida, and then like international is going to be in Sweden this year. But you're running against people who are like, this is what they do. Now it's not the Olympics. It's just people that have ex-Olympics or didn't go to the Olympics. They go compete, but like they get down. You got people as I was like 90 or 105 years old running. It's crazy to watch. But yeah, she set 2 world
So
records, 4x2
okay,
and 4x4.
that's amazing. But that reminds me,
It's
my
fun.
running, my running. So this one time I decided to run a 5K. Mind you, I don't know if this matters, but I have size 4.5 feet and I'm 5 foot tall, like
Mm,
5 foot 1. So
okay.
I'm tiny little feet, tiny little legs, right? So here
Yeah.
I am deciding to run a 5K. Didn't practice. I'm thinking, how hard can it be, right?
Yeah.
I'm running and I look over, I'm not kidding you. There's like 85-year-old grandpa passing me, and I'm like, oh no, you
Mm.
did it.
Some get down. They go.
So
There's guys
my
that are 10 years older than me running way faster than me easily.
Yeah, but that tells me how like I am so not like all that in a bag of chips. Like grandpa over here is passing me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's what they do. I mean, whatever you give energy and effort to, you get an outcome in. So if he's training for it, then it's going to happen.
Exactly. And I put
There are
zero
guys.
effort
Yeah.
into it. So here I
Yeah.
was, passed by grandpa. So
My
thank
wife.
you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for
You're
coming
welcome.
and sharing your story. I just want the world to see that I don't know if anyone really has a silver spoon.
No, nobody does.
I believe that everyone bears their cross, and I believe there's so many amazing success stories that you can become whatever happened to you, become a victor or victim, and
Yeah.
it's your choice, right?
Always your choice. Yes.
And I want the world to be able to get to find you in the future. So if they would like to follow you, to get to know you further, and watch the trajectory of your success in the future, you can. Is the best way on Instagram, or what do you prefer?
Yeah. If you go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram, it's the fastest way to find me.
That's awesome. But thank you so much, Anthony. Thanks for sharing your story. You're the best.
Welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Ready to elevate your mindset? Now it's time for What Would Gogo Do?
Question of the day from Amy Taylor at Amy with a another Y Taylor. So it's AMYY Taylor, and Taylor with 2 O's. Wow, Amy, this is complicated. Okay, let me spell it out. At AMYYTAYLOOR, Amy Taylor. Do you balance family life, and how do you balance family life and work life? Oh, okay, Amy. Describe balance. I think balance is different for everyone, right? For me, since I love what I do, I don't feel like I'm working, and sometimes I overdo it or I abuse it, as my family would say. Sometimes Dwayne will catch me just in my office, and you think I would be like doing anything else, but I truly enjoy what I get to do. So I just love spending time in my office and my thoughts, and implementing and learning and producing and creating and hiring, and creating good life for many people in my life. So with that being said, I did make some changes recently, and I only work now Monday to Wednesday. My day usually starts around 9 o'clock in the morning because I am a night owl. So I usually stay up until 1 o'clock-ish at night is my average time to go to bed. And then I wake up around 8 o'clock with an alarm. If I didn't set an alarm, I would probably sleep longer. So I wake up around 8, I give myself about an hour to get ready and enjoy my coffee. And then usually my very first meeting every day is at 9 o'clock. And I don't usually work past 4. So usually my last appointment is done by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm home every night. I'm home every weekend. So I gave myself extended weekends for the rest of my life. So I really have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Now, Monday to Wednesdays, I work in my business and I'm usually done by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And Thursdays, though, sometimes on Thursdays, I still work a little bit, but those days are usually to work on my business. So Thursdays are usually meetings with people that maybe I'm thinking on a new business idea and I want to pick someone's brain, right? And then I would set an appointment for that. So Thursdays are usually working on my business or creating, I should say, if I do it. But really, the idea is not to work at all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I live by my calendar. Everything in my calendar is color coordinated. Dwayne and I actually have a rule. Whoever puts something in the calendar first does not have to get a sitter. Granted, the boys now are a little bit older. They're 14 and 16. But what we used to do in the past is that if I had an appointment in the calendar and Dwayne added another appointment of his own in the same time, he had to go get a sitter. I didn't, right? So that kind of just told us whoever created the appointment first is good. The other person should be watching the kids. If we have appointments at the same time, the second one has to get a sitter. So that's kind of how we did the family side of the balance, right? And we do spend a lot of time together. So earlier in my career, Dwayne used to work full time and I used to stay home with the kids. And then he would come home and I would go show houses. And then I usually worked evenings and weekends, right? And then on top of it, he was in sales. So he used to travel a lot. So there was very little time that we actually got to see each other. Since I retired Dwayne and he helps with the family stuff, right? We are always around. I work from home and he's always around. Periodically, he'll go fishing because that's his hobby, right? But other than that, we spend a lot of time together. So we are together all day, every day. And then my children now, since they're in high school, they're usually home by like 1:30. So I pretty much from 9 to 1:30, I work really hard. And then I have lighter appointments in the afternoon. And by 4, I'm done. We try to cook together. If not, we go out to dinner. We do spend a lot of time together. And at night, we watch a lot of, not TV, because I don't have cable. I don't watch the news. Don't do that. That's information nobody needs. But like shows and those kind of things. And then we like to play board games and we love to travel. So that's what balance looks like for us, is that work on days, Monday to Wednesday, long weekends, Thursday to Sunday, and spend as much time we can with ourselves, our family, I should say, and our friends. That's it. Hope it helps.
You get paid for the hour what you bring to the hour. Or in other words, the fastest way for you to earn more is by learning more. GoGet'em Webinars is your chance to learn from those who have walked the talk. Gogo invites all of the top performers in the industry to guide you through your success journey. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The roadmap is already laid out. If you haven't figured out how to make money in your sleep yet, you're not running a business. You're stuck in a job. Join GoGet'em Webinars to learn how to earn passively and have your money doing all the heavy lifting so you don't have to. Explore more at GoGet'emWebinars.com.
Thanks for joining Gogopreneur. Keep that go-getter spirit alive. Until next time, go get 'em.